Providence Courtroom, February 2018. The gallery's packed, phones out, cameras rolling for Court in Providence. A woman stands accused, trembling, $150 fine on the table, points about to slam her license, insurance ready to spike. She works 2 jobs, drives her kids everywhere, can't lose this. The cop's confident, done this 200 times, pulls out the traffic cam photo like it's a done deal. Clear as day, Your Honor, she ran it. Judge Frank Caprio, 30 years on the bench, asks to see the evidence. The photo lands on the table. Red light, car mid-intersection, timestamp crystal clear. The woman's shaking. The light was yellow, I couldn't stop. Caprio orders the full footage pulled up. The room goes silent. The screen lights up, and in exactly 12 seconds, the cop's face changes. Because what's playing contradicts every word he just swore under oath. Judge Frank Caprio built his reputation on 2 things most people never see together: kindness and precision. By 2016, when Court in Providence launched as a reality courtroom show, he'd already spent 30 years on the Providence Municipal Court bench. Viewers loved him for the grace, the reduced fines, the listen to stories, the way he treated people like humans instead of case numbers. What they didn't see was the foundation underneath: meticulous evidence review, procedure followed to the letter, facts checked before mercy ever entered the room. Traffic violations were his bread and butter. 50 cases a day, everything from parking tickets to red light cameras. Providence's automated camera system pulled in $4.2 million annually for the city. The show made Caprio famous for compassion. But his real skill was something colder. He never skipped a step. That traffic camera photo on his desk wasn't just evidence. It was the beginning of a crack in a system people trusted without questioning. Providence installed its red light camera program in 2014, 12 intersections across the city, automated enforcement running 24 hours. Tickets mailed automatically. $85 to $150 fines. Points added to your license. Insurance rates spiking. Officers reviewed the footage, testified in contested cases, and the system hummed along on one basic assumption: photo equals guilt. Testimony equals truth. Thousands of people paid without contest because fighting meant missing work, hiring lawyers, risking more points if you lost. Maria Santos was different. Single mother, worked as a hospital aide, mornings and retail clerk nights, got the ticket in the mail and checked her bank account. She knew she hadn't run that light. She also knew she couldn't afford to lose her license. No license meant no way to get her kids to school, no way to make it to either job. So she did what 98% of people don't: requested a court date. That decision, that 2% choice, was about to expose how the entire system worked. The evidence photo looked damning. Car mid-intersection, traffic light glowing red, timestamp clear as glass, 7:42:18 a.m. Officer William Patterson signed the sworn statement with 15 years of experience behind his name. Subject entered intersection after signal turned red. Violation clear. Standard enforcement, textbook case, done deal. Maria requested her court date anyway. The night before the hearing, Caprio sat in his chambers reviewing the file. He circled the timestamp with his pen. Something felt off. Traffic lights change from yellow to red in 3 to 4 seconds, depending on intersection speed limits. The photo showed 0.3 seconds after the light turned red. Human reaction time to brake is 1.5 seconds, longer if you factor in the distance needed to stop safely. The math didn't work, but the photo was sitting right there, glowing red, car clearly in the intersection. The image said guilty. Physics said impossible. Caprio requested the full video footage, standard procedure for any contested case. Most of the time, footage either supported the officer or, mysteriously, wasn't available. February morning, 2018. The courtroom filled fast. Cameras positioned for the show, gallery packed with people waiting for their own cases. Phones ready because every episode had the chance to go viral. Maria walked in looking like she hadn't slept. She couldn't afford to lose. Kids waiting at home, 2 jobs that required driving, insurance already tight. Officer Patterson stood confident. He'd given this testimony more than 200 times. Same script, same outcome, same 20 minutes, and then on to the next case. Caprio asked the standard questions, reviewed the photo evidence on the table. Patterson spoke clearly. "Clear violation, Your Honor. She had time to stop." Maria's voice shook. "The light was yellow. I couldn't stop safely." Caprio paused, looked at the photo again, then ordered the full footage pulled up on the courtroom screen. It was routine. He did this for every contested case. The difference was, this time the file actually loaded. Most footage was either unavailable due to technical issues, or it supported the officer's testimony. This time, the screen lit up. The timestamp started running across the top of the screen. Traffic camera angle, wide shot of the intersection, multiple lanes visible, clear February morning light. Maria's car approaching at reasonable speed. No erratic movement. Traffic normal. The light was yellow. Gallery leaning forward now, phones recording, because something in the air shifted. You could feel it. Split second before the intersection. Light still yellow. Freeze frame, car enters the intersection. Light still yellow. Then, 0.2 seconds later, while the car is mid-intersection, the light turns red. Physics made it impossible to stop safely without causing a rear-end collision. The murmur started in the back rows. Patterson's face changed. The photo timestamp was accurate. It captured the moment the light turned red. But the photo didn't show when Maria's car entered the intersection. It showed the car already in the intersection when red appeared. The legal standard is clear. Vehicle must enter after the light turns red to be a violation. Maria had entered on yellow. The footage proved it. Patterson had sworn under oath that she hadn't. Caprio asked the tech to replay it 3 times. Each time, the same sequence. Yellow light, car approaching, car enters on yellow, light turns red, while car completes the intersection. Officer's sworn statement versus footage. Complete, undeniable contradiction. Patterson had testified after red. The footage showed during yellow to red transition. Maria was legally cleared by the same evidence the officer swore proved her guilt. Caprio's tone shifted, the warmth gone, replaced by something colder. "Officer, you watched this footage before testifying today." Patterson's voice tight. "Yes, Your Honor." The courtroom went silent. People in the gallery looked at each other. Sworn testimony, under oath, directly contradicted by the footage the officer claimed to have reviewed. It looked like perjury. But more than that, it raised a question rippling through every mind in that room. If this case was wrong, how many others were wrong too? How many people paid fines, took points, watched their insurance spike, lost their licenses because they trusted a photo and an officer's word without ever seeing the footage? Caprio dismissed the case immediately. No fine, no points. Record cleared. He addressed Maria first. "You were right to fight this. I'm sorry you had to." Then he turned to Patterson. "This testimony was inaccurate under oath. I'm referring this matter to the police department for review." Maria walked out shaking, relief mixed with anger at what she'd almost lost. The video hit YouTube within hours. By the end of the week, 8 million views. Comments flooded in, all asking the same question. How many others didn't fight it? Providence Municipal Court received 847 requests for case reviews in 7 days. Local reporters started pulling records. Patterson was suspended pending investigation, but he wasn't the only officer who'd testified in red light cases, and he wasn't the only one whose testimony now looked questionable. One case, 12 seconds of footage, 8 million views. The crack was spreading. What started as one woman fighting a $150 ticket was about to expose how an entire revenue system worked, and who it worked for. Local news crews pulled traffic camera conviction records from 2016 to 2018. The pattern emerged fast. 34 cases with similar timestamp issues, photos showing cars mid-intersection with red lights, officers testifying based on the photos, convictions secured. But here's the kicker. Footage was unavailable for 28 of those cases. Technical failures, corrupted files, system errors. Convenient. The city had collected over $12,000 in fines from those cases alone, and that was just the ones reporters could verify. Police union issued a statement defending the officers. They acted in good faith based on photographic evidence provided by the automated system. Except the sworn statements didn't say based on the photo. They said the officers had reviewed the footage. If the footage was unavailable, how did they review it? If they only looked at photos, why did they testify they'd seen video? The system wasn't broken by accident. It was designed exactly this way. Automated enforcement, photo evidence that looked definitive, testimony that sounded authoritative, and footage that mysteriously vanished when anyone questioned the process. Caprio's reputation went nuclear. The judge who exposed the lie became his new title, though he'd never changed his method. He'd always pulled footage, always checked facts, always followed procedure to the letter. The difference now was cameras everywhere, transparency forced into the open, every decision recorded and uploaded. Other cities started reviewing their own traffic camera programs. Massachusetts suspended its red light camera program pending a full audit. A judge in Florida cited Caprio's case while dismissing over 200 violations with similar timestamp issues. Maria Santos became a symbol overnight. The ordinary person who fought the system and won. The 2% who didn't just pay and move on. But viral fame did something procedure alone couldn't. It forced accountability through sheer audience pressure. Traffic camera companies, police departments, municipal courts, they could ignore one woman contesting a ticket. They couldn't ignore 8 million people watching a lie collapse in real time. Transparency didn't come from the system. It came from the fact that everyone was watching. The deeper investigation revealed something uglier. Traffic camera company contracts were tied to conviction rates. Higher convictions meant automatic renewals and expanded coverage. Lower conviction rates triggered renegotiation or cancellation. Providence collected $4.2 million annually from the program. The camera company kept 40% of that revenue. Officers weren't corrupt. They were pressured to support a system that justified its own existence. Patterson had a 15-year record. Good evaluations, no history of misconduct. He was suspended pending review but never fired, never charged with perjury. He became the scapegoat for a larger problem nobody wanted to name. 23 other officers had testified in similar cases. None were disciplined. The message was clear. One officer made a mistake, not the system. But the math told a different story. Systematic technical failures that made footage unavailable. Testimony based on photos that didn't show the full sequence. Revenue targets that required convictions to stay high. One honest judge, one viral video, and an entire municipal revenue system was suddenly under threat. Caprio became a national figure almost overnight. Invitations to speak at judicial reform conferences, law school panels, government accountability forums. Caught in Providence viewership tripled. The show syndicated to 40 markets nationwide. Every episode now featured the same meticulous approach. Pull the full footage, review it on camera, create a permanent record of every decision. Other judges started adopting the practice. Never trust a photo alone, always demand the full video. Make transparency the default instead of the exception. Maria Santos got her license cleared, her insurance stayed stable, her kids stayed safe. She framed the dismissal notice and hung it in her kitchen, a reminder that fighting back sometimes works. Patterson was quietly transferred to a different unit, his testimony never formally charged as perjury, his career intact but marked. The system changed, but not through law or policy. It changed because millions of people watched one case unfold in real time and demanded accountability. Viral pressure accomplished what procedure alone couldn't. But that raised another question. What happens when the cameras aren't rolling? Red light camera programs faced scrutiny nationwide. Cities were forced to choose between transparency and revenue. 8 states passed laws within 2 years requiring full footage access in all contested traffic cases. No exceptions, no technical failures, no convenient corruptions. Camera company profits dropped 30%. Several municipal contracts were cancelled or renegotiated with lower revenue splits. But the programs didn't disappear. They were too profitable, too efficient, too embedded in municipal budgets to abandon completely. Cities just got better at managing the optics. Caprio warned anyone who'd listen, technology should serve justice, not replace it. The camera doesn't lie, but the interpretation can, and that's why we're here. The viral video became training material in law schools, used to teach evidence standards, burden of proof, the difference between what looks true and what is true. The traffic camera photo from Maria's case still exists in evidence archives somewhere. Once proof of guilt, now proof of why you question everything. Victory, but incomplete. The cameras are still watching, still collecting, still assuming photo equals guilt until someone fights back. By 2025, Caprio is still on the bench, still pulling footage, still checking facts with the same meticulous precision that made him famous. The original video has over 15 million views now, comments still coming in from people who fought their own tickets and won by citing his case. Maria's case has been referenced in more than 40 appellate decisions nationwide. Legal precedent built on 12 seconds of footage and one judge who wouldn't skip a step. That traffic camera photograph still sits in evidence archives, tagged and filed. It used to be proof of guilt, a closed case, revenue collected and moved on. Now it's something else, a symbol of the gap between what technology captures and what truth actually is. Patterson retired in 2023, never spoke publicly about the case, his name forever attached to the moment a system cracked open on camera. The recurring object, that red light photo, transformed from certainty into doubt, from evidence into warning. One image, 2 meanings, depending on who's looking and whether they bother to ask what happened before the camera clicked. The lesson echoes in every courtroom where technology meets human judgment. Caprio's closing line from that February day became famous, repeated in legal briefs and judicial opinions. The camera doesn't lie, but the interpretation can, and that's why we're here. The photo showed a car and a red light. It didn't show the moment of entry. It didn't show the impossible physics. It didn't show Maria's choice between stopping dangerously or proceeding safely. Photos capture an instant. Truth requires context. Maria's case proved that fighting back sometimes works, but only if someone's willing to look past the surface, demand the full story, and risk the inconvenience of actually checking. That traffic camera photo, once held up as definitive proof, now sits in archives as a reminder. Trust, but verify, especially when the machine says it's certain. The cameras are still running, the lights are still turning red, and somewhere, someone else is deciding whether to pay the fine or demand to see the footage.